The Fringe Podcast, Season 5, Episode 31. Feedback for Liberty and an Enemy of Fate. Support for the Fringe Podcast is provided by listeners like you and by this week's sponsor, Global Cash Card. Learn how Global Cash Card provides world-class solutions for pay cards, gift cards, per diem cards, flex cards, and more by visiting thefringepodcast.com/globalcashcard today. Welcome back, you dork, to the Fringe Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Fox television show
Love and Marriage, Love and Marriage, Married with Children.
I loved that show. This is one of those that we might have done already before, but I wasn't sure, so I went ahead and put it in there.
Might as well.
Yeah. You know, Katie Seagal.
Yeah.
That's where I first remember her. That's the first thing I can remember her doing, although I'm sure she did stuff before that.
Christina Applegate.
Yes.
That other kid.
That's
never
the
did
thing,
anything.
right? I mean, Al Bundy, what's his name? Ed O'Neill.
Uh-huh.
All three of those have gone on and done more notable things.
Stuff. Yeah.
But
Buddy.
Not Bud Bundy.
No.
Or the dog. What was the dog's name? Tiger? No, that was a different show.
Scratch.
Anyway, poor Bud Bundy. He had that illustrious rapping career.
He did. He smoked a lot of marijuana, if I remember correctly.
He probably did. In fact, that's probably where he is now. He's smoking marijuana with Amanda Bynes.
What?
What? What? All right. We are here taking just a small portion of the feedback that you guys sent in for the finale, the penultimate and the ultimate episodes of Fringe entitled Liberty and then An Enemy of Fate.
Justice for all.
And like I said, just a small portion of it we're able to provide with you today. And we just want to, again, express our appreciation for all of you who sent in feedback. We're grateful for it. We'll be doing a bonus episode for the finale, just like we did for The Boy Must Live. So if your feedback doesn't make it into this podcast, there's a good chance it'll make it into the next podcast.
That's right.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's kick things off. Now, instead of twinge this time, we asked to get Bunsen burners.
That's right.
With the hashmark TFB twinge, and Daryl has collected those.
I've collected those, but also Brandon, who is Typhoon of Pie today, was gracious enough to gather all the ones that were put into the chat during the finale.
Oh, wow.
He emailed those to me, so all of those are here as well. So we have quite a few.
We've got a lot.
So get your seatbelt buckled. Here we go. Nathaniel, ETC, gave it 5 out of 5 years of awesomeness.
Melly Matt gave it 10 white tulips.
Alternicat gave it 10. Fringe, you are my very favorite thing.
I almost teared up just even hearing those words.
I know.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Alternicat gave it 10. We already did that one. What am I doing?
No, we didn't.
Yes, you just did it.
There's Alternicat, and then there's Miss Fleet Alex.
Yes,
oh,
I said Alternicat. I did the same thing that you did, only in reverse.
Yeah, sorry.
Miss Fleet Alex gave it 10 beautiful endings.
No One's Minion gave it 20. The bee is back. I got my wish of Olivia kicking some
watermelon. Yogabon gave it 10. Out go the lights, Olivia.
Zeppelin Driver gave it 10. Folivia's giving polite hugs to her younger and hotter self. Nice. That's good.
That would be so awkward, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Quit looking at my younger self.
Yes. Dal New gave it 10. Pop goes the wind mark.
Nice. The Unibeefer gave it 20. Side smashing cars. It's like the rating point system is completely out the window this week, isn't it?
20 out of 20.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 episodes.
Oh, yeah, I see.
And
that's why I said that, because like there's an 11 coming up. There was another 20. There was a 5. It's like it's all random this week.
Yeah, it's totally random.
Which is fine.
Ken and Wolf 23 gave it 11 of 11 dystopian happy endings. He finally got his happy ending.
He's got it. Straight Number 1337.
Straight leap.
Gave it 10. Widmark went Skidmark.
Absolutely. NYC Fringe Math Geek gave it 10 out of 10. They made up for the horrendously awful Lost ending with a spectacular ending of Fringe.
Jim in Wisconsin gave it 10 out of 10 Sacrificial Walters.
Amber Gypsy gave it 10,000 out of 10,000 tears. OMG.
Jenny from Ohio gave it 10 for me as well.
Pyro Brainiac gave it 9.5 White Tulips of Everlasting Melancholy. Wow.
I like that. That was Pyro. I like the name Pyro Brainiac. That's good. K-Jack gave it 10 rainbows for the red verse.
New Dana gave it 10 White Tulips. Wow, that's our highest rating this season.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. Red Viking gave it 10.1 Close Encounter of the Third Kind.
Security Nerdette gave it 10 out of 10 for a satisfying ending.
Chris from Wisconsin gave it 10 5 years well spent.
Martha Rich gave it so happy, thanks all, 12 out of 10.
Scaper gave it 9 mostly happy endings.
Lisa 2 gave it 100 out of 10. Fathers know best.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
The rating system is out the door. Janice LG gave it 10. Wyman got it right. Thank you, Wyman.
That's right. Nix E gave it 10 out of 10. Wonderful Fringe podcasts. Thank you.
Thank you. Cortexa Fiend gave it 10 timey-wimeys.
Sci-Fi Fan 30 gave the first hour 10 out of 10. Return of Kick Watermelon Live. And second hour, 10 out of 10 Observer Balloons. Wasn't that awesome?
Nice. That was.
I want, if you guys are out there listening, that's what I want for Christmas.
Some osmium bullets.
I want a balloon that looks like an observer floating, dead.
That's a great
Wouldn't
idea.
that be awesome?
Yeah.
That's what I want. All right.
That's a cool idea for a T-shirt. A little girl holding a little balloon.
It's a dead observer.
That's funny.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Let's see. Where are we? Here we go. Girlfriend of Pi gave it 10 cool flying observers.
Soka 718 gave it 10 wind mark parallel parkings.
Hellraisin Brazen gave it 9 out of 9 crying Septembers.
Kane 88 gave it 10 out of 10 Bishop family together again.
Dreenack gave it 10 very favorite things.
Tom Snively gave it 10 out of 10 .0000001% chances.
I love that.
Yeah.
Bryant 54 gave it 10. I got my happy ending.
AJ Blois gave it 9. Don't make Cortexa fan Olivia mad. That's right.
That's right. You wouldn't like her when she's angry. Kalina gave it 10 favorite things.
Rob V gave it 10 out of 10. JJ never disappoints.
TFS 24 gave it 10 plus 10 times 5 tears.
Sooner Girl gave it 10 out of 10. Mad Mama Bears.
The Ozone Layer gave it 10 because it's cool.
That's right. Bad Wobot gave it 10 crossovers that saved the world.
The Goat 26 gave it 10 out of 10. Young
Watermelons.
Nice.
We're getting a lot of those this week.
Uh-huh.
Crowbar gave it 11 out of 10. Great storylines.
I lost my spot. There we go. Lieb gave it 10 happy endings.
I Am Serious 2 gave it 10 fringy bullets. I'm sorry. 10 fringy buffets.
Sapiro gave it 10 eternally crying in a time loop. That's good.
Oh, that is good. We got a couple of guests here coming up. So guest 5935 gave it 10 epic endings.
And guest 0920 gave it 10 out of 10. Finale was off the hook. Thanks, Mr. Wyman.
I'll carry on. Gave it 10 fringes that I'll never forget.
Sorry, this is what I get for doing two things at once.
Yes.
Max Headroom 6 gave it 10. Thank you to Fringe and the Fringe Podcast Cortexa fans.
Waiting for Godot. gave it 10 million because it's cool. Thanks for the memories, all.
Inky Minky 184 gave it 10 amazing dads.
Interdimensional Dave gave it 10 out of 10. Last peck on the cheek from Walter. Get it? Alistair Peck.
Uh-huh. I like that.
That's
Even
nice.
capitalized Peck. Jadzia 97 gave it 10 white lights at the end of the tunnel.
AC gave it 10 white tulips. Loved it.
Guest 4248 gave it 10 September sacrifice.
The Fringe Passenger gave it 10 for now because it was a finale and it was better than Lost. 10 tumor-inducing cell phones, but I need to rewatch.
That's good. He's normally the Lost Passenger, so
Yes.
I wonder if he liked it so much he's now going to be
Wow.
the Fringe Passenger like
Wow.
he's got there. Gob O'Sox gave it 10 I want to hold your hand and save the world.
Highway 61 gave it 10. Thanks for the ride, Fringe.
Guest 3463 gave it 10 tears for a heroic dad.
Corgi Bear gave it 10. Not lost on this Bunsen burner.
Blair House gave it 10 white tulips.
Astro gave it 9 out of 10 banana bets.
I don't get that one. Psychic River gave it 10.
The Gibbinator gave it 10 out of 10. Gambling with the universe and winning.
Totally
Winning.
Addicted gave it 9.5 witty one-liners.
Nons gave it 10. I loved it, but why did September have to die? Well, September didn't die. Donald died.
Semantics. Correct. Guest 5327 gave it 10 parents protecting their children.
Little Fringy gave it 10 tears on my face for a beautiful ending.
Is that like a half singing thing?
That was
you
a
just
half
did
song.
there? Yeah. R Dub gave it 10. Thank you, Fringe, for 5 seasons of sci-fi fun and not shying away from being emotional.
Tony C gave it, oh my, 10 wonderful wormhole walk-offs.
Nice. What would you do for someone who loves pie? Gave it 8.513. Fringe events are temporary, but Fringe will last forever. At least until they reset the timeline again.
What would you do for someone who loves pie's sister? Gave it 8 out of 10, Jeans and Amber.
Guest 5027 gave it 10 out of 10 summer rewatch payoffs.
Trish Cape Cod gave it 10 kick butt Olivia's, emotional Peters, brilliant Astrids, and courageous Bolters.
Solo Entropy gave it 10. First Lost, now Fringe, till we meet again.
Guest 8725 gave it 10 Raven Doves. You don't get that one either, D.
I have no idea what that means. The Ravens are in the Super Bowl tonight. I'm guessing that's what it is.
Blackbirds. You can't say that name.
What? Blackbirds?
No, you can say Blackbirds.
I can't say Ravens?
Nope. We don't want to get sued.
That's true. For the Super Bowl? Oh, I said it! I said it again! Boomer Sooner Fringe gave it 10. I should have traveled the 20 minutes for the finale party.
Yes, you should have. Shame on you.
We would have loved to have had you there.
Curb Noise gave it 10 out of 10. Michael's getting all, I'm rubber, you're glue on wood.
Yes!
That was great.
That's a great one, Curb Noise. I love it. Crowbar gave it, well, actually, I think we had Crowbar already, but this is a second rating if I remember correctly. Crowbar, I give Clint and Daryl 10 out of 10 great podcasters. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, that's really nice. We're off, Daryl.
Huh?
We're off.
What do you mean we're off? Like the feed is down?
No.
Oh.
You're going to have to read this next one, even though you just read the last one. Because
Okay.
I have to do the last one.
Oh, I see. Oh, man, when you say we're off, I assume the feed.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So it took me a minute to get my mind wrapped around it. Jajin gave it 10 super sexy, delightfully scheming Septembers.
That's a great rating. And our final Bunsen burner, maybe ever, at least for this show, for the first run show, comes in from our good friend, Little Hill, with the L's as ones. Except for the first, which is capitalized. gave it 10. I miss Fringes already.
Oh, good stuff.
That's it.
You know, we had a lot of Bunsen burners come in, and it was an incredible night. Those that were in the live party with us, those that were watching on Ustream, we had our most widely watched podcast ever for a live show, not our most downloaded show. Depending on how you look at it, like unique views, which tracks obviously unique people that came and watched the show. Yeah. We had, including those that were with us live, we had over 500 people watching the live show.
Wow!
Right after the show, right after the finale.
That's great.
We've never even touched that before. So thanks to everybody who came by and was a part of the live show, either in person or through the website. It was great fun. We had a great time.
Cool.
All right, you ready for some feedback, my friend?
I am indeed.
All right. I said there was a couple ways to track that. Unique is the more conservative way. If you look at like total views, it's over 700, almost 800.
Whoa.
So I went with a more conservative number there. So anyway, thanks again for everyone who came by for the live show. Get your fingers off my cookies.
I tried.
And I mean my cookies. All right, I'm moving them to the other side of the desk here so you can't reach them unless you have go-go gadget arms that I'm not aware of.
I've got orangutan arms. They're pretty long.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah!
All right, let's listen to the first feedback. This one comes in from Jim.
Hey, Clint and Daryl. This is Jim in Wisconsin with my feedback for the Fringe series finale. Initially, my reaction to the episode was pretty positive. I enjoyed all the callbacks to the past seasons, almost as much as I enjoyed the emotional scenes between the characters. After the show, I joined a live feed of your podcast from Oklahoma City, and that only made the experience that much better. So I want to thank you guys and all that attended for that. Sure, there were some unanswered questions, but I went to bed satisfied with the happy ending that this chapter of the story gave us. Then Saturday rolled around, and I thought it'd be fun to try and make logical sense of it all. The biggest issue I came up with was how Michael was the boy that was important and not Peter. So I attempted to retrace the steps from 2609 to our past, to our present time, then over to a pocket universe till our near future, then finally to a slightly more distant, but not quite as distant as the future as he was from future. If you can follow that, that's great. Because after I got the nosebleed to stop, I thought to myself, in the words of the immortal John Locke, I'm going to have to watch this again. So I went back and watched Inner Child and Peter, paid extra attention to try to notice anything that could help me understand how the reset went back to the park, not all the way back to at least 1985 in Raiden Lake. I got to thinking about time travel and paradoxes and whatever happened, and after the second nosebleed, I came to the conclusion that in order for Michael to not be a paradox, the future had to play out very close to the way it originally did. And maybe he was able to create a new set of probabilities that would evolve the observers in a way that the 12-man science team was maybe on a mission to rediscover emotions for the future. And that's why all of their pre-park deeds still happened, and why we didn't go back any farther than the park. It doesn't explain why Walter disappeared, but without Observer Tech, I'm only going to be able to process one paradox at a time. So after all that, the head scratching, the old episode watching, and even the nose bleeding, I realized something important just the other day, and that is that the show had been off the air for almost 2 weeks, and I was still theorizing fun what-if scenarios, not debating whether or not they were all dead on the island the whole time. And that's what I love about Fringe. There was never any one way something can be resolved. They gave us an ending that in and of itself can really be considered a new beginning. I certainly hope they will have the opportunity for this series to live on in some sort of media. I mean, just think of all the future drugs Walter can self-medicate with and what types of adventures he'd have. Not to mention the bishops that were left behind as a complete family. There's a wealth of material to pull from, and I hope that someone seizes the opportunity and continues the story. But while we all wait for that comic or novel or movie to happen, I think I'll be spending my TV time following Revolution. So thanks again for the past 5 years of a wonderfully entertaining podcast. I hope it was as much fun for you as it was for us. Unfortunately, I don't have a catchy Fringe-related sign-off, so I'm hoping that the one I have for Revolution will do, and that is from the corner of Shut Up and Stay Here, Jim in Wisconsin.
Wasn't that excellent?
That was great. That was great feedback. You know, he does bring up an interesting point.
Uh-huh.
I think, well, no. I don't know if that could happen. I'm with him on the nosebleed, because the more I think about it, the harder it is for me to resolve what I think should have been different.
Yeah.
As far as the ending, the loop, the time Mobius strip, if you will.
Right.
But there is a way that could play out that could see the future creating September and the normal observers to go back in time, but everything be fine in the future.
That's why I like the Mobius strip example that Donald gave us a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah.
Because Mobius strips, if you're not familiar with them, I'm not going to try to explain it to you. I'm just going to ask you to go over to YouTube and just type that in. There'll be some cool demonstrations of what a Mobius strip is and how it seems to defy the laws of physics, the way it works. And then if you start cutting a Mobius strip and then cutting it again and the results of that. So I kind of like leaving it at that, Yeah. I can't explain it all. I can't tell you how it happens, but it happens and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love Jim's feedback.
It was good. Thank you, Jim.
It was excellent. He's one of our regular contributors of the Revolution podcast, so grateful to have him over there too. All right. Anything else you want to add to that?
Thanks for sending that in, Jim.
It was very humorous too with the nosebleeds references and all the lost tie-ins. Good job. All right, let's move on to Frank.
Hi, guys. It's Frank from Montreal. Can you please elaborate on the second gesture that Michael did to Olivia after she killed Widmark? I don't get it. I don't understand, what was the gesture for? Was it the first time he did it, it made a little bit of sense, waiting for Astra to make her statement, but I didn't get the second one. If you could clarify that for me, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Here's my theory. Are you ready for this?
Lay it on us.
After, in the last episode we talked about how Courtney and Jason, former podcast alum, were convinced that Michael had done the deed, had killed Widmark.
Right.
And so I thought about, okay, it does make sense that they would think that because the camera panned to him and he was doing the finger mark.
Uh-huh.
But if you think about what he did when his father, Donald, or September, died,
right,
he went over to him and he pulled out the music box and started playing it. Because that's what he had shown as a way to communicate his love and affection and relationship with his dad.
Right.
And I think that it's the exact same thing that you see with Michael not understanding how to process emotions, not being able to speak, that you see going on with Olivia, where he does this when it was time for Astra to speak, kind of telling her, be calm, everything will work itself out, everything is going to play itself out exactly like it should. When he does it again, he's saying the same thing.
Right.
I told you that everything was going to play itself out exactly like it should. Me getting on that train, or getting off the train led to all of this. I saw it. Everything worked out. Widmark's dead.
I completely agree. I mean, for whatever reason, Michael didn't have the ability to verbally communicate. And
I like Patty's theory.
Which was?
Budgetary reasons. He couldn't speak, or he'd have to join the Screen Actors Guild.
That's right. But he was able to read probabilities and see the future better than anybody else. So he knew that it was going to be okay. And so that was his way of communicating to her that I've seen the future and it's all going to work out. Just be, just give it a second.
Lost Cars says he was telling Olivia to shut up and just cortex a blast that watermelon.
That's exactly right. That's right.
That's funny.
And Typhon of Pi says, shh, don't tell everyone that I helped kill Widmark. All right. Well, Frank, thanks for sending that question in. Hopefully we answered it to your satisfaction.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to Interdimensional Dave.
Hi, friends. The Fringe Podcast. Your old buddy, Interdimensional Dave, calling in for the very last time. Just kidding. Can't get rid of me that quickly. I think I'll call in for the next few weeks and send some feedback on something that reminds me of a book, blah, 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 movie, blah, 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 my latest theory, blah, blah, blah. You know, that way you guys can do a 5-minute podcast every week, and I think Clint can handle that. Right, Clint? 5-minute podcast, feedback, yes? Just kidding. Anyway, you guys, did you buy the ending of that? Did you buy it? You know, no more Walter, but he's got a letter from Walter, he's gone from the plane. I don't get it. Yeah, I prefer to believe Walter's still around. I mean, future Walter, maybe into the future, but present Walter's not there? Nah, I don't buy it. He's still here. However, I do have an idea, since it's all over, sadly, for the movie. I'm working on it. It's in the early stages, but the movie goes like this. Now that Walter is in the far-flung future, he starts experimenting with 22nd century psychotropic drugs. Yep, a little more mind expansion, 22nd century style. No doubt he's found his own bliss way up there. So, anyway, astral plane Walter from the far-flung future comes back and contacts corporal plane, or 21st century Walter, and says he needs help, and so they both go off to the future together. Why? Because William Bell still survived. That's why. They may have changed the Observer invasion, but William Bell's still around, and he's causing more trouble. And it manifested itself into the 22nd century. So, off they go, and it's up to Astrid, Peter, and Olivia to travel to Oz, the future, and rescue Walter. Or is it Walters? Anyway, I'm working on it, man. It's a lot of fun calling into you guys, leaving feedback. I'm going to miss everybody. Not that I'm going anywhere. What was my original idea? Oh yeah, the 5-minute podcast of feedback. It's a deal, right, Clint? You're hanging around, right, buddy? All right, cool. I hope to see you all soon. We'll be out there in the internet universe. This is Interdimensional Dave signing off. I'm out.
All right, thanks, Interdimensional Dave. So 25-minute podcasts. Yeah.
He said 5-minute podcast.
Yeah, 20 of them.
Uh-huh.
He said he's going to call in for the next 20 weeks and give 5-minute.
You not on board with that?
Yeah, I don't know about that. You know what? This being Interdimensional Dave's last feedback, I was disappointed that we did not get the conclusion
of the hero's journey. I have thoroughly enjoyed Dave's contributions over the last several seasons. Yes. I mean that, and he said a lot of things that have just gone over my head, but he's made, the hero's journey I found to be really interesting.
I thought it was great. Yeah. It was a great segment on our podcast, on our feedback segment. So it
was. But at the same time, Gabo Sox' feedback has always been superior to his, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not even close.
I don't even think they're comparable, really.
Not really. Yeah. So I think Walter's gone, though. I think at Invasion Day 2015, Walter disappeared, but he didn't cease to exist. He began existing in this paradoxical form because it's not like he just disappeared. It's like he'd been there in the future. Walter in the future knows exactly how he got there.
Oh, I think so.
He remembers. Walter and Michael are the only ones that remember season 5.
See, if they do it, right?
It's confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, because then they don't exist.
Right.
Right?
But he just...
At least on this plane of existence.
Right.
I think the process created a parallel universe where the timelines are completely disconnected.
It almost has to, doesn't it? I don't know about the last part where they're disconnected, but it's like a parallel. Going back to season 1, this is where I got into trouble with the whole season 4 thing.
Yeah.
A different decision creates a different universe.
Right.
Not a different timeline, a different universe. But we're not going to get into that. That's been settled.
Sort of.
Semantics so that we don't create more confusion among the fan base.
All right.
I
tell you what, why don't I read one?
Okay. Thanks, Dave, for sending that in.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave. And you'll be missed. Because you're not going to send in 5-minute segments.
We'll just act like we never got them.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll set up a email filter.
There you go. Mark is read straight to this.
Straight to trash.
Straight to post. It'll just show up on our website.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Clint and Daryl. I'm correcting it for Ben because he got them in the wrong order.
Okay. No, he didn't. I want you to do me a favor. As we play the rest of these feedbacks, I want you to make mental note of how many say your name first versus how many say my name first.
Daryl, that is unfair because you handpicked the feedback that ended up in this episode.
I did.
And I would bet you, consciously or unconsciously, that you picked ones that start off with Daryl.
If I were to handpick and only choose the ones that start out with Daryl, we would have like 3 feedbacks to play.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't bother me. But since you brought it up and switched it because this one happened to put my name first, I'm going to bring that up.
Okay, we'll see.
Not only that, but pay attention to how many people sign off with your sign off versus my sign off. You will again see that they prefer you.
I'm the color man.
So if they put my name first or happen to use my sign off,
I should let it stand.
Let it freaking stand.
Let it ride. All right, fair enough.
All right.
Ben in San Antonio says, Daryl and Clint, like many, I have waited to send in feedback in order to let the finality of Fringe set in. The fact that I've been waiting all season, reserving my judgment for this series to see where it ended up. I've read the blog post by Old Darth and listened to the initial feedback podcast along with the fan reaction throughout the season and come to the conclusion that I am alone in the Fringe universe. Alone because I did not love this finale, this season, or ultimately this series. Don't misunderstand. I did love the characters of Peter and Walter Bishop from day one and found the show highly entertaining. Ultimately, though, I could never buy into the writing when my favorite characters disappeared for half seasons at a time due to the Redverse or were erased from the timeline, or in the end were reset to a time I was unfamiliar with altogether in 2015. Yet, I'm not writing to invalidate what many found to be a fulfilling and beloved series. Rather, I write to say that despite not loving the show, I stuck with it because I loved your podcast. Indeed, I was more excited for my drive into work once the podcast was in iTunes that week than I was to sit down and watch the show on Friday nights. Your witty banter, bad jokes, banana bets, beautiful singing, Bunsen burners. Yeah, that's what I said. Good. Food for thought, Science of Tomorrow, and Twinge made it one of my favorite hours of the week. While I will not really miss Fringe all that much, I will miss the Fringe podcast dearly. Thank you for all of your hard work and dedication for the past 5 years. Forever keeping it nerdy and staying Fringe-tastic. Ben in San Antonio. Wow.
It's very nice of Ben to say that.
Yeah, you remember in the last podcast when I said my heart grew 3 sizes? That day, my head just grew 3 sizes. No, Ben. Hey, we really appreciate it. Not to make a big deal about it, but we got into podcasting because we loved other podcasts and loved television and really enjoyed talking about it. But I can say for sure that I would not have stuck with it without fans. The support of the fans week in and week out, telling us that they really enjoyed our podcast, telling us that they really enjoyed the show. And so you guys made it worthwhile to us, and we really appreciate you.
Yeah.
As much or more than we could ever say.
Yeah, that means a lot. And we've had a lot of comments come in and people say they enjoyed the podcast at times as much or more than the show, and that's amazing to us. We certainly appreciate it. I wish you had enjoyed the show more. I wish it hadn't left a bad taste in your mouth. Like when you have, trying to think of something that tastes bad. Oh, like fire sauce mixed in with toothpaste. That would taste bad. That's a good example, isn't it?
Yuck.
So I'm sorry that Fringe left you with that feeling, but I'm glad you enjoyed the show. All right, Clint, shall I take one?
The show. Yes.
Yes.
Why don't you read the next one?
Yeah, the podcast is what I meant by show in that second sentence. All right, this comes in from
Linda is lost.
Linda is found.
Linda is found. Oh.
She says, okay. She says, I was going to call this in, but I knew that I would not be able to get through it, and I'm going to try to get through this because the first time I read this, I did not make it through it.
It rained.
It did. Yep.
You were cutting some onions.
All right. It's been a week now, and I have finally figured out what the finale did to me, and more importantly, what it did for me. I was quite vocal about not wanting a reset to the park, and immediately after the finale, I was so angry, sad, and frustrated, although the white tulip softened it a bit. But the past week has given me a chance to finally realize why. Yesterday was the 3rd anniversary of my daughter's death. She died on her birthday. Deep inside my subconscious, this date was looming, and it just wasn't fair that Olivia got her daughter back. Dead is dead, but now I realize that she never actually lost her. Wow. Yesterday, my other daughter brought me flowers, yellow ones, as she does on every anniversary. The flowers made me think of The flowers made me think of white tulips, and white tulips made me think of Fringe, and Fringe made me think of Olivia, and Olivia made me think of Etta, and it all came together. A TV show, a really good TV show, allowed me to finally come to grips with my daughter's death. I now have my memories and my brain pieces back where they belong. Now I think I can watch the finale again with so much more clarity. Yes, it's been a week, and I've not had the guts to rewatch the final episode. And maybe I can send some feedback about the actual show. Thank you, Daryl and Clint, for your wonderful podcast and for the community that grew from it. I am so glad that I was able to attend the finale party. Special shout out to Yogaban for sharing her valuable frequent flyer miles and excellent conversation. I came away with new friends and so much more. Catharsis is freeing. I'm ready now to kick butt and take names. And that's from Linda is Found.
Wow.
Yeah.
What to say?
I don't know what to say.
I don't have any words. Linda, we've really enjoyed your fan friendship over the course of this series, and this feedback will be one that I'll remember long after we've finished podcasting and are doing other things.
Yeah. You're exactly right. That's exactly it. I was sitting at breakfast the next day after the finale party. Several of us were down in the Starbucks, just kind of enjoying the last few minutes together. I can't do this. And Direct6955 says to me how much he appreciated the podcast because. Well, he made a comment. Kenny Carson called in a couple weeks ago, and mentioned how it had helped him when he'd come back from. It was dealing with some post traumatic stress syndrome stuff,
mm-hmm.
and John expressed how much Kenny sharing that helped him, and he shared a situation with me that the podcast had helped him with in a very similar way, through the death of someone in his family.
Mm.
And I said, Kenny has also shared another story with us. He called in one time and talked about his dad.
Yeah.
They would watch Fringe together. These are the things that transcend TV shows, transcend anything that we ever thought we'd be a part of when we started this podcast.
Yeah.
And these things are amazingly important. You guys are amazingly important. We're humbled and grateful to be a small part of that.
Absolutely. And, just hearing one of those stories makes it worth it.
Yeah.
To me, of course we love the show. Of course, we're big fans of the show and enjoy doing podcasting. But to know, for you guys to reach out and make yourselves vulnerable, and let us know that this show
right.
has impacted you, I can't use words to explain how much that means to both of us, to Daryl and I. Just that the time that we've invested over the last 5 years has made a difference, a positive difference in your life. Not anything that we've done, of course. It's been the show, but just to be related to that has been a great honor, and it makes it worth it to come in here and do the podcast every week.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Thank you,
Linda, for putting yourself out there and allowing us to be a part of that healing process that you've gone through. Thank you.
All right, let's get back to the audio, and this is going to come in from, excuse me,
from Brent.
From Brent, that's right. He was the lurker forever, showed up at the finale party, and now he's leaving.
Finally did
audio feedback. That's right.
He kind of tying in full circle with Linda's feedback. That's one of the things he told us in person. I'm not sure if it's in the feedback or not, but he appreciated the heart of the podcast.
Right.
And again, very meaningful feedback for us because it is important for us to know that is recognized, I guess.
Right.
So anyways. Yeah.
All right, here's Brent. What number is he? He's number 3.
Greetings, Daryl and Clint. Brent from Dallas here. Leaving feedback for the Fringe Podcast for the first, and I suppose, last time. Olivia's training as a soldier for the coming war was proven to be necessary and had its moment of fruition. I wanted a satisfying death scene for Windmark, and we got just that. Old-school Cortexan Olivia that had been missing all season came back in these final 2 episodes with nothing short of a vengeance. Is there any doubt that the absence of that substance is what created the character shift that was bemoaned by so many who had grown accustomed to the butt-kicking version of Olivia from previous seasons? It is clear to me that Michael stepped off the train to ensure Olivia would have to soldier up and get injected with a monster dose of Cortexiphan. Each time he pulled his fingers to his lips and shushed her, he was telling Olivia that everything was going to work out, including the final time, after she smashed Windmark. This is a nice contrast between the need to maintain control that has always been Olivia's strength and weakness in life. Much of what floated through my mind while hearing everyone's thoughts at the finale party the night before regarded what price Walter would ultimately have to pay for his presumptuous act of crossing universes. He admits as much to Peter on the farewell tape from 2015 that they watched together in the lab. He tells Peter they stole that time. Walter, watching that tape, has prepared himself for this sacrifice. Much of the philosophical musings during the entire series centered around fate versus free will. I submit to you that each of these had their day. December tells Donald that it is destiny of the people from that era to suffer this fate. Donald retorts by saying that sacrifice can change destiny. Notice that he didn't say it was simply a reluctance to accept destiny that would change it. It's almost as if he is saying that the degree of sacrifice must match the import of the circumstances and the degree to which you desire to change them. Free will has its day here by our heroes emerging from Amber and doing their best to change all of time. They have endured so much, and without the willingness to fight and the pain that conflict brought, nothing was going to change the dark future that lay ahead of them. However, fate seems to have its moment as well. Walter says that he knows in his soul that this is what he is supposed to do, and despite Donald's attempt at intervention, the fate Walter knew was his to play winds up being his in 2036, just as it would have been in 2015. Amber and pocket universes and good intentions did not change this beautiful and tragic visual we receive, just as the heart of this story begins with Walter crossing a threshold of the energetic unknown in 1985 for selfish reasons. Here he does the same for far more noble and selfless reasons. Hubris is replaced by love and sacrifice. Missing brain pieces and a conflicted heart are replaced by clarity and a level of mind-heart integration that the best heroes only achieve at the end of a saga. Walter won't be with his family, but he is self-actualized and healed to a deep level. Like so many in the room at the OKC finale party, I found myself there at the end of the series, very satisfied with how it wrapped up. This was made all the more so by attending such a great event. I want to take this chance to thank you, Clint and Daryl, for the dedication and talent you have graced all of us with. At the event, you were kind and warm, to the well-known feedback contributors and lurkers like me. So many of us feel when we listen to your show like we're right there in the studio with you, and the camaraderie at the live event confirmed that indeed we always have been. How wonderful is it that you've taken a show about technology going to a place that robs people of humanity and built a podcast fandom community via technology that has brought people together in a way that they otherwise never would have been. Please accept my heartfelt gratitude and know that there are probably several other lurkers out there who feel the same way. So, until another show captures our collective imagination half as much as Fringe did, this is Brent from Dallas saying go ahead and stick me in amber. I'll gladly be Olivia's coffee table until the next great show comes along. Peace, and until we meet again.
Wow.
That was really good until it got creepy at the end.
Well, I thought it was still good.
Oh.
Even with the creepy. See, and that's why we told you guys not to lurk, because that was fantastic
That
feedback.
was fantastic.
Can you imagine 5 seasons of that kind of feedback?
He'd be another one that I would be offering my chair to.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, and again, really appreciate the kind words about the Fringe finale party.
Yeah. And TJM just shared something in the chat room too, and I just want to express my appreciation for that too. You guys are awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I have any intelligent remarks in response to what he just shared.
I don't either. I think Brent said much more eloquently what I was trying to say about Michael's, shushing of Olivia, and it makes a lot of sense to me the way that he phrased it. And I think is a pretty good answer to Frank's question. It was Frank earlier, right?
It was Frank. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, really appreciate the feedback. We had such a great time at the Fringe finale party. This really has brought together people, in a community that we'll have, I don't want to say for the rest of our lives, but certainly for a long time.
And that's kind of the sad thing about it, Clint. The community is stronger, more strong now than it ever has been before, in large part because of the finale party. Yeah. And it's coming to an end. I mean, we still have the community here with Golden Spiral Media. We still have Revolution and the other things that we're doing. But we all know that this started because of our love for Fringe. That is the thing that started it all.
Yeah.
And not everybody is on board with Revolution or the other things that we do. So, hopefully the community will stay together, moving forward. But like I said, we're stronger now than ever before. And the thing that brought us together is ending. So it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
It is sad. But, Daryl.
Clint.
It's also the beginning of a new chapter.
That's right. It's like the end of season 2, starting season 3.
That's right. We get to create what happens in our future.
That's right.
That's right. There's no fate.
I was just going to say that, actually. That's funny. Well, Brent, again, thanks so much for calling in. Let's move on to Natalia.
Hi, Clint and Daryl. This is Natalia, a.k.a. Me1313 on Twitter. I'm calling in from Belgium for the Fringe Podcast. So I'm a first-time caller, but I've been listening to your podcast for a couple of months now, and I actually started listening to you guys at the beginning of Season 5. Well, I didn't discover your podcast earlier, but I'm really thrilled I discovered it before the ending of Fringe, so better late than ever. And like you said, I think that many people are going to discover your podcast maybe after seasons. And by this feedback, I really wanted to thank you for making such a great podcast. Also the singing part, which is hilarious. So I was actually TV show is one thing, but when you simply put yourself in front of the TV and then turn it off when the show is over, I don't think you get to feel the same experience. And it's something completely different and much more interesting, in my opinion, to actually listen to podcasts, discuss with people on Twitter, and elaborate theories. And it's something I did with Lost, and it just made me experience the show in a completely different way than people who just watch the show on their TV. So I really wanted to thank you for the ride. And by this feedback, I wanted also to share my thoughts about the 2 episodes. It was a very satisfying ending to me, and I got everything I wanted, steaming gases, also emotion, because I think like the ride about the characters, and I feel like we really got a complete closure on every one of them. And I really cried when Walter said to Peter that he was his favorite thing. It was a very emotional scene. And also the scene where he goes through the wormhole made me cry a lot. And I'm also really happy we got the Redbird back. So unfortunately, I had been spoiled seeing pictures of Seth Gable on set. So I kind of guessed we would go back to the other universe. But still, I think it was really great to see Olivia and Lincoln and to know that they had a happy life and a child. So, and by the way, I don't know if anybody noticed what the name of their child was, because I didn't get it. So it would be great to know what the name of the child is. So I really liked the finale. The only thing that kind of disappointed me was that it was maybe a little bit too predictable. So first, the reset to the park, it was great, but I mean, everybody had been thinking about it, and I simply wish they had found something else to give Peter, Olivia, and their daughter a happy life. And also, when Walter said back in the episode 11 he would have to sacrifice himself for the plan, I thought, no, they're not going to do this because it's too predictable, and they did. And I loved seeing also the White Tulip. It was a perfect way to end the great show that is Fringe, and I really hope we'll get to have a movie. And anyway, so I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you for these great rides. So thanks, guys. Stick and keep it nerdy.
Did you catch that sign off?
Yeah, keep it nerdy.
Yeah.
All right.
Natalia, thank you so much. Calling in from Belgium. How cool is that?
That was awesome.
Yeah. The answer to the question, the son's name, we speculated in the finale party that it would be Henry, but that is not the case. It is Trevor.
What?
It's not Tyrone. It's not Henry. It's Trevor.
How did he know?
That's according to Fringepedia.
Okay. I think they probably just threw something up there.
He usually has pretty good information.
It's probably Clint.
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay.
No. I think the only Clint we've gotten is Clint Howard.
Yeah,
which is pretty awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so she was really happy with the way the show ended, the resolve of the characters and everything that happened.
I think I am too.
Yeah.
I don't think, on the budget that they had with the time that they had, I don't think I could have asked for a better finale. It was a really good finale.
Yeah. Absolutely. Bless you. All right, you ready for some more feedback?
Yes.
All right,
Yes,
this
sir.
one comes in from Boston Red Vines herself, Carol Lee.
Hello, Clint, Daryl. It's Boston Red Vines, a.k.a. Carol Lee. I just want to say your party was so awesome. It was so cool. Thank you so much. We had the best time. And yes, Daryl, I am the worst bowler in the world. I loved the finale. Everything about it was just so cool. The red verse, I hated that Walter had to go forward in time. That's the only thing. It was very, very sad. Yes, thank you for the Kleenex. I appreciate it. I had a couple of questions, though. Maybe you guys can help me out. Do you think that Peter actually found that tape that Walter made and he understood why Walter disappeared? I think he did, possibly. Also, to me, on my rewatch, it looked like December hung himself, and I was wondering why. Possibly he could have been read, and I didn't know if, observers read each other or not. And I know we had, long discussion after the finale, but I don't remember what we came up with on that one. And my last one, again, on a rewatch, it really did look like Skidmark jumped before he was squished. I saw the kind of ripples. It really looked like he jumped, and maybe it was just his hand or something that just got broken or squished, or what. He could have a robotic hand like Nina. I don't know. But anyways, that's all I have. You can burn the skies and boil the seas, but you can't take my Fringe from me. Thank you, Clint. Thank you, Daryl. You made Fringe so much better. I just really enjoyed every minute of it, and I'm so enjoying the rewatch. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Wow.
It was fun getting to meet her.
Yeah.
In person.
And her husband.
And Rick was great
Yeah.
too. Rick had some great thoughts the night before.
Absolutely.
We put that discussion out. We put a lot of content out over the last couple of weeks. Hopefully you guys have been able to keep up with everything. We had the finale party podcast. We had the pre-finale party discussion that we put out after the finale, which was kind of cool because you could hear everybody's thoughts about what they thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then kind of go, did that happen or did it not happen?
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Then we put out, what else did we put out? We had the interview with September's Notebooks authors, which was amazing. I was excited about September's Notebook before the interview with them. Afterward, it's like I can't get it fast enough.
That's awesome.
It's really good. And then we had the New Media Expo that I sent out this week as well. That is all out there.
Cool.
So lots of good podcasting stuff. But so you'll be able to hear my point in saying all that was Rick's comments are part of the pre-finale podcast that we put out. I think that's episode, I don't know, 427, 428, something like that. 527, 528, something like that. Yeah.
Could be.
Okay, so she had a couple of questions. I feel like we already responded to the did Skid Mark get squished, did he survive, whatever, in the first podcast. So I don't think we need to rehash that. But she had a couple of other questions.
Yeah, we didn't talk about December's death.
Right.
Although we did discuss it a little bit at the live finale. But
we did, but you know what? On the rewatch, I'm more confused now than I was before.
Okay.
Because he had some bruising like next to his mouth and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hang yourself, why do you have a bruised face?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
But if you go in there to kill somebody, why do you take the time to hang them?
Well, I think that you would take the time to hang them to make a point. In the same way that, you know, as an ugly part of our American history, that there were lynchings that took place,
right?
As kind of warnings to people.
I could totally go for that.
You know, they kind of tied that in with the whole fascist regime
exactly what
thing.
came to my mind.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's about the best thing I can come up with.
I have now, because of the bruising on his face, unless you failed at the first attempt and you fail and hit the floor, hit the chair on your way down or something, and you needed to re-secure it, which is, I mean, there's no point in doing that, right?
Yeah.
He was bruised on the face for a reason, so I don't think he killed himself. Where at the finale party, I thought, of course he killed himself.
Yeah, because hanging, that's what, you don't hang somebody when you've got a gun to shoot them.
Right, unless you're trying to make a statement.
Unless you're trying to make a statement, which I think they were.
Yeah. Okay. And then she asked about, did Peter find the tape and does he know what went on? I think so. I think, like I mentioned before, when Walter and September started their plan because they knew they were coming, all of that was set up all the way back then, so it still exists because that happened pre-invasion day.
Yeah.
So Walter still left all the clues that Peter needed to know exactly what happened to him.
Yes.
And they're easier to find because they're not encased in amber now.
I guess so. Yeah. But then Peter's going
to
be really confused because he's going to have Walter saying, I need you to gather all these things for something that he doesn't need to be doing.
That's true.
It's going to be a wild goose chase.
That's going to be weird, for sure. Although it could open up the portal to get them into the wormhole into the future.
Back.
And they're going to have an inoculation left because September will have never used that inoculation.
Oh, my goodness.
So, there you go. There's great storylines to be had here.
I like it.
All right. Thanks, Carol Lee, for sending that in. It was, like I said, great having you here at the party. Okay, Clint, you want to take the next one?
Sure. This one comes in from David. He's from Newcastle, Australia.
That's right. Quite the international podcast we've got going today.
No doubt. He says, hi, Clint and Daryl. I have one quick question. What did the very final shot of the series mean? The close-up on Peter's eyes? I've watched it a couple times looking for something fringy in his eyes, or a quick flash of maybe Walter in the background, but I didn't see anything, and I don't remember a throwback to Season 1, Episode 1. It just seemed like a weird shot, as I could understand him smiling, looking at the white tulip as the last shot, but why the extreme zoom on his eyes and a more intense look in Peter's eyes. Thank you so much for your efforts. I agree with the feedback at the live events. This show would not have been the same without your podcast. Thanks, David from Newcastle, Australia. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the kind words.
Yes.
With regards to the final shot, after reading this, I went back and watched it again. I think the best thing I can say is that it's a stylistic choice, and it did leave open, if the white tulip had been the last thing, that, although there's other things that can happen in your mind, it feels final, right?
Yes.
With the way that they shot the last two things, it felt like Peter was either realizing something or recognizing something, and that was going to take him and cause him to take action on something.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things like, I'm trying to think of another movie, but the superhero movies where they finish the superhero movie.
And the Avengers did. I mean, all the Marvel movies have done it.
And the last shot is them in costume running towards the camera, showing, the story goes on, the adventure continues, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I took it. I did go back and watch it several times and thought, that's really odd. What? I don't know why it didn't end at the white tulip, and then I didn't know why it didn't end at the smiling scene. But again, I think it was just kind of that. The adventure continues.
I think it's exactly it. David is doing exactly what Joel wanted us to do. What was the purpose of that?
Yeah.
What might have happened next?
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That was it. So exactly what you said.
Yeah.
If it had been the white tulip, it would have felt more final.
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't, but it would have felt more final. That look just propelled it. Right?
That's a jumping off point. That's the springboard for your imagination.
That's right. Very good. Thanks, David, for sending that in. All right, this one comes in from Jim, Harvard Jim to be specific. I just got into Fringe and your podcast in the last year, and I love them both. I even have a show me card. I want to comment on the time travel paradox relating to September not existing, so not interrupting Walternate when he was preparing a cure for Peter. Of course, if he did not interrupt Walternate, Peter would have been cured in the Redverse and would never have come to our side, met Olivia, had Etta, etc. I don't think this is a true paradox. Seasons 4 and 5 were in the Amber timeline. In that timeline, Peter did not exist until he popped out of Raiden Lake during the 4th season. Therefore, the whole episode depicted in the episode Peter did not occur. I think this is completely logically consistent. It also gives an important purpose to season 4, which was my least favorite season. I will miss the show and the podcast. Hopefully we haven't seen the last of either. And that comes in again from Harvard Jim. He makes a good distinction that the events that really happened early on in the series did not happen as we saw them depicted on screen.
Okay.
Because all those Fringe events probably still happened, but without Peter.
Right.
All that stuff. Peter died in Raiden Lake, reemerged in the timeline in Raiden Lake as an adult in season 4. So all of those events that we saw, Walternate was still distracted in the lab. It was just that when Walter went over and rescued Peter, they drowned in Raiden Lake.
And then popped up in Raiden Lake.
Right. The observers were still present in the timeline and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you could... This is a very deep rabbit hole with lots of little offshoots, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things we could certainly go back. But I guess from that standpoint, even if the whole timeline was erased, it's not going to be that different, right? Because in this timeline, in season 4, Peter died in Raiden Lake.
Right.
And so Peter would have died Peter would have lived in the Redverse if September hadn't been there, right?
Theoretically. Unless it's his fate and something else would have distracted Walternate.
That's right. It'd be like Final Destination.
Right, exactly. So anyway, it's fun things to speculate on, and it's a good perspective for sure, or a good distinction there, Jim. All right, let's get back to the audio. And I think this name is Carver.
Hey there, my name's Carver. I'm calling from the United Kingdom for the Fringe Podcast. Just watched the finale with live on the UK time at 1 o'clock in the morning. I got to say that I really enjoyed the finale. It was nice to be able to watch it with a fellow US fans, and I also got to participate with the online chat, which was really awesome. Just wanted to say that this is the first time I'm calling the feedback line, as never really been able to watch it live before, and just hope that I get on the feedback. Just wanted to say a massive thank you to you guys, Daryl and Clint, for your awesome work that you've done over the years. Really made Fringe a lot more fun, especially during my morning commutes to work where it was raining and dark. You really guys made me, happy, and especially love the science part of it as well. In regards to the finale, I think that it tied up everything emotionally. Overall, season 5, I wasn't a big fan of the pacing, but I thought that there was a lot of, we need to get to like a destination, and then when they got there, that we had to get this part, and that kind of made me a bit frustrated. And also, I think that during the finale, what I would really have liked to see is the scene in the future in Oslo, and that whole scene between Walter and Michael and the scientists. I think that would have been really nice, and that would have tied it all in together. My feedback is regarding the white tulip. I know a lot of people online are saying that Peter, that his reaction was that he actually remembered it, but I think it was that expression of he was just confused, that he didn't understand where this came from. And I believe that the white tulip was not more or less a nod. It was a nod to us fans for keeping hope and just saying thank you for being with Fringe all the seasons. I just want to say that I really enjoyed Fringe. I think as a show, it's probably going to be one that I'm going to rewatch again. Can't really say that for Lost, I'm afraid, because I felt that there was a lot of loose ends, but with Fringe, it was great to see the ending. And my favourite part of the finale was Walter finally admitting that Peter was his favourite thing. The reason being is that throughout the series, we have seen Walter say a variety of things to be his favourite, mainly around food, and it was just so emotional to see him finally acknowledging that the most favourite thing in his life, in his universe, was Peter. And that was what Fringe was always about, the father-son story to me, and I really enjoyed it. So I just want to say thank you guys for all your hard work. Love the podcast.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, that was great feedback, and I loved what he did there with the, Walter talking about how things were his favorite and really kind of focused on food, and how all of that went away at the end of the show there with Peter.
I really liked how the thing that Walter liked most was the thing that he stole from some other man in another universe. What?
Hey, it was his precious, right? His precious son.
That's right.
That's right.
It's really cool too, because he was able to watch Fringe live and be a part of the live show for the first time.
Yeah,
which is really awesome.
Big thanks to Sky for doing that in the UK.
That's really good. I'm sure there was some logistics and licensing and all that stuff to work out, and whoever made all that happen, it was great that it was able to be somewhat of a worldwide broadcast for the finale.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, kind of on a little bit different topic.
Yeah.
Just a big thank you to Warner Brothers. Big thank you to Fox for sticking with the show.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have been done in season 3 pretty easily.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a complete Fringe without season 5. Only having 3 seasons certainly wouldn't have been as enjoyable for me personally, or podcasting professionally, of course. But Fox, a station notorious for killing off great genre shows, really stuck it out with Fringe. Finally got it right.
That's right.
And they get a lot of street cred for me. Watching. I'm going to tune into some other shows because I know that they've changed.
Yeah,
they're not going to kill it off immediately. So
right. Very well said.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Thanks, Carver, for sending that in, and let's move on to Devin.
Hello, Clint and Daryl. This is Devin from Colorado calling in for the series finale of Fringe, and those are some sad words to say. I really, really liked this episode, and it's not my favorite season finale out of all Fringe. I think that one still goes to the season 2 finale. I love that finale. But as a series finale, very satisfying. It's not a 10 because they didn't answer all the questions I wanted them to answer, but the important part is all the questions that they did answer were important ones. They were the big questions. All the questions they didn't answer were the smaller side questions that honestly aren't that important, and in some ways it's better to leave them unanswered because it's almost more fun to theorize about the answers than to actually get them, if that makes sense. Things like what happened to William Bell and the Amber. What happened when Walter and Michael went into the future to go talk to the Norwegian scientist? What about the ZFT? All that kind of stuff. But again, those are side questions that aren't that important, and they answer the big ones. And I thought wrapping up the entire series with the White Tulip was a fantastic way to end it off. I really, really liked it. And I just want to thank you guys for doing the podcast. It's definitely made Fringe far more of an entertaining show to watch when you have a community to discuss with. So I want to thank you guys. I also want to thank all the other people that call in for providing to the community and everything. And I also want to thank you guys for inspiring me to start my own podcast. I started up a couple of podcasts, and that makes me appreciate what you guys do even more, because podcasting is not nearly as easy as I thought it was. So realizing all the work that you guys put into making your podcast super professional makes me appreciate you guys all much more. And I'm looking forward to many more years of listening to your guys' podcast and Golden Spiral Media. And this is Devin from Colorado saying, yes, they walked into a bright white flash of light, but at least it's through a wormhole and not in a church. Talk to you guys later.
Why are you laughing, Clint? You act as if you got that joke.
That's so true, of course. If you remember back in season 3, Walter Bishop was in a church, and there was lightning in the background. So I'm really glad it didn't end with season 3, just like Devin.
Oh, boy. That's a good save again, although we all know that you're lying through your teeth.
What?
Hey, Devin, thanks for that feedback. And I think there's been some interesting chatter going in the chat room, of all places, while you were doing that, because you're spouting off different questions. Hey, this was a minor question. We got the answer to this one, but we didn't get this one. That's okay. I mean, there are still going to be, every person's going to have their own opinions on what was an important question and what was not an important question. And for example, William Bell is one of them that mentioned, I would have liked to have known the answer to that, and ZFT. I want to know more about that. And what was the kayak, And
Kino, yeah.
Yeah. But if I could just brush with a broad stroke here, I would say it did answer the main questions. Now, are there other questions that I wanted to know? Absolutely. But I still feel like, for the most part, it got the stuff done needed to get done.
Yeah, there certainly weren't any large pieces of mythology introduced 2 episodes before the end that weren't dealt with.
That's exactly right.
And no, crazy twists in the finale that introduce even more mythology.
Right.
And then say that all of that is not important.
And give it up to Fox for then not introducing other things in the closing credit sequence that completely confused the fan base even more.
I don't know what you're talking about, but if I did.
Yeah, and
if I did, yeah.
And thanks, Devin, on the podcasting compliments. We know we make it look easy. And
no. My goodness. I don't really have a leg to stand on. I think I've told you guys this, but Daryl literally does all of the work. I just kind of show up and blab for an hour and then say sayonara. But yeah, it definitely is a lot of work. I can at least appreciate from a distance watching Daryl do some of the work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. depending on how much of a perfectionist you are, which I'm a perfectionist to a fault when it comes to this type of thing, and it works against me sometimes, but you get better at it over time. So, it took me, my first podcast that we did, I think it took me 2 days to edit that thing, and now I can do, if it's an hour and a half long audio clip, I can edit it in about an hour and 40 minutes.
Which is fantastic.
I've gotten a ton faster at it, so, it
comes with the territory.
It's a labor of love.
It is.
I've enjoyed it. All right.
And there are several people in the chat room that said they're thinking of starting or maybe have just started a new podcast. Thank you. We need more podcasts, not necessarily directly competing with us, but indirect podcasts are great.
Yeah. You know what? I love podcasts.
We would really appreciate it.
Yeah, if you're interested in starting a podcast, I can help you with that. Seriously,
for a small fee.
Shoot me an email. Depending on what type of involvement you need. I do some work for free and some I charge for.
As it should be, because Daryl's fantastic.
So if you're interested in starting a podcast and need help, I'm here for you. So send me an email. The best email for that is Daryl@goldenspiralmedia.com. That's DARRELL @goldenspiralmedia.com. Okay, you ready to move on?
I am indeed.
All right, Kathleen.
Hi, guys. This is Alternacat from Chicago. So, many of us wanted Fringe to surprise us at the end. The plan that the Fringe team has been working toward all season, involved a reset. Now, true, we didn't know until last week that the plan to defeat the Observers would involve a reset, but this was the plan all along. Many of us, dare I say most of us, said, they can't do a reset. There's no way they'll do a reset. So in the end, doing a reset actually did surprise me, strangely enough. They surprised me by doing what they said they would do all along. And in the end, I respect and admire them for that. I mean, I think it would have been easy for them to throw in some shocking twist at the end. As Fringe like to say, imagine the endless impossibilities. But what they gave us remained true to the spirit of the show, to the integrity of the characters, and to the ongoing theme of sacrifice for the greater good and for the sake of all humanity. We could step back and realize the ramifications of setting up a reset in such a way that would save humanity and life as we know it on Earth from the destruction that eliminating emotions would cause. We embrace our humanity, and because of that, we don't wish for the future beings of Earth to be destroyed, but for them to be taught a better way. And there are parallels between humanity's journey to self-realization and Walter's own journey. And in the end, the need for self-improvement must be a balance between the mind and the spirit. But really, why should we be surprised? Of course the plan worked. This carefully crafted plan came from the mind of the flawed but ultimately brilliant Walter Bishop. And we had 5 seasons showing us how brilliant this guy was. So why would we think it could have ended up any other way? So yes, I realize that there are some timeline-bending reset conundrum issues that I haven't quite gotten my head around. And yes, there were a few of my questions that were left unanswered. But here, now, on the day after it all, I am at peace with this lovely gift that we call Fringe. So, for the last time, remember, it's far better to channel your inner mad scientist than your inner observer.
I don't think I could have said anything half as eloquent as that the day after the
kidding.
The show aired.
I was like,
excellent feedback,
yes.
Kathleen.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alternacat.
I like how she, and I love this about Fringe. It has always tried to also introduce these humanity type of things.
Yeah, these bigger, it's something we talk about all the time.
Right.
Just these. It's using science fiction as a means,
right,
to discuss what it means to be human and and puts our characters, these characters that we've grown to love, in these unique situations.
Yeah.
Where we really get to understand what it means to be human.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's one of the great things about the show, I think.
I agree.
One of my very favorite things about the show.
Very good. All right.
Yeah, I was just going to say one thing that we haven't really discussed, but in the interviews that we had going into the finale, there were two things I kept hearing the cast members say that it was mind-bending.
Right,
mind-blowing, something that hadn't been done before, of course, which is absolutely true. But they also said it was very true to the nature of Fringe, and by the time you got what you got in the finale, it felt earned. And I think that's a great way to describe it. It really did feel earned. When Walter said to Peter that you're my favorite thing, he earned the right to say that.
Absolutely.
We felt it, in their characters. Same thing with the scene between Walter and Astrid. And when Walter finally made the ultimate sacrifice to go with Michael in place of September, that felt right. It felt like that Walter's character had grown and evolved to a point where he was willing to sacrifice himself in a completely selfless way, in a way that even 4 episodes before that, he hadn't quite earned the right to be able to do that. So I agree. I think it was great.
I concur. All right. Thanks again, Kathleen. One more audio for this episode, and this comes in from Chris.
Hey, everyone. This is Chris from New York. I am excited that we had the chance to see the Redverse again, because Worlds Apart kind of gave us that scene near the end that seemed to bring about closure, especially with Olivia's keep looking up line. I don't think that Olivia and Lincoln's baby, or son I should say, was named in the episode, but I believe that according to IMDb it's Trevor. So, just wanted to point that out. And as for the ending of the show, I have very mixed emotions because I am very happy that Peter and Olivia have their happy ending. Obviously, I think that's what all of us wanted. But at the same time, I have been saying that I do not want a reset back to the day at the park because that means that Peter and Olivia don't have any memories of anything that happened in Season 5. So, that kind of bothers me because there was so much development throughout Season 5. I mean, one of the major themes in Season 5 was how love survives at the end of the day, even through turmoil and chaos. Love wins at the end. I think that we saw Peter and Olivia become closer than we'd ever seen them before. And all of that development was kind of undone by the fact that they now no longer have memories of any of those events. So I'm a little troubled by that. I don't like that. I really did not want that. But this finale was awesome. There were scenes that really had me choking up. I mean, one of them was definitely when Peter and Walter hugged, and Walter said, "You are my favorite thing, Peter, my very favorite thing." That scene really had me going. Also, Peter mouthing, "I love you, Dad." And also Michael playing the music box as Donald September was dying. Powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. This was a fantastic finale. So as much as I complain about the reset, which is something that I didn't want, at the end of the day, I have to say that, Fringe basically gave me the closure and the resolution that I wanted. It answered most questions. It gave the characters closure. And, I'm happy. The only complaint that I have about Season 5, at the end of the season, you look back on Season 3 as a whole and you say, that was fun, and it was fun to watch because, it was funny, and we also got to see even more of Anna's acting chops, but what did it do for the season, really? Nothing. It really did nothing. It could have just been taken out of the season, and the season would have been the same. So, it really didn't progress the overall story at all, and I feel the same way about this. It was fun to watch, and we got to see Josh really kind of break out of his shell and become something other than Peter, but it didn't really do anything for the season's overall story. In fact, if anything, it slowed the team down. But other than that, this has been quite the experience, and I'm going to tell you guys the same thing that I've been telling David Wu for years. You have really made this experience special. And this is the first time that I've ever watched a TV show and felt so much like I'm part of a community, like I'm part of something greater than myself. And it sort of sounds like something silly to say about a TV show, but it really is true. And I mean, that's what Fringe has done for me. So it's not just Fringe, though. It's you guys, it's David. You've really added to the experience of being a Cortexa fan, and I thank you for that. So I'm going to sign off, though, not only because I am using up a lot of time, but also because I've pretty much said everything I've needed to say, and if I say much more, I am definitely going to start choking up and tearing up, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to sign off, and thank you so much, guys, for everything that you've done. This has been an amazing experience, and I know I've said that a million times, but you are my favorite thing, the Fringe Podcast, my very favorite thing.
Wow. That was such a nice sign-off.
Chris, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's been a real honor and a pleasure. I've always looked forward to your feedback. It's always been brutally honest and but always heartfelt and really well thought out. Over as long as you've been sending it in, since season 3 too.
I don't know when he started. Pretty early on.
A long time. So,
and personally, I'll say Chris is one of those guys that he and I have talked quite a bit outside of the podcasting walls, and so we've developed a fairly good friendship over the years.
Good.
And so when that came in, I sent him a message. I'm like, "You dirty dog!" It suddenly got dusty when I read this, And I've heard that thing I don't know how many times now because I've listened to it and edited it and listened to it again, and it means a lot to me. Yeah. Chris, thank you. It means a lot.
Absolutely, yeah. And we really appreciate the community that has grown up around the show. Yep. David Wu, again, really appreciate what he's brought as well. And some of the other fans, podcasts, and things have come and gone, but the community's always been there, and we really appreciate it.
That's right. Yep. Okay. Let's read a couple here before we wrap up this segment. Do you want to take the first one or the second one? They're both a little longer.
Yeah, I'll take the first one, I guess. You'll see.
Okay.
This is from Omar. He says, I think one of the things we have to accept in the Fringe universe is that time is linear, but not completely, and that timelines can overlap so that previous timelines can affect subsequent ones. Walter said it in The Day We Died, when he said, we cannot change the things we've already done because we've already done them without sending the machine back in time. Basically, they've changed time before and sent the machine back, and therefore it couldn't not get sent back in that timeline. The same thing with the finale. What has happened, but they have to change time within what happened so that there are probably still observers. There are just different kinds of observers who made different choices, similar to Peter making a different choice. So in their universe, reset does make sense, and the universe will correct the paradox by finding a way for Walter to disappear in 2015, like he said. Also, the boy must live quote from the episode Peter sounds like more of a double entendre than it just being about the child observer, similar to how the symbols in their language have multiple meanings. So ultimately, that Peter and Walter needed to be together to save the future, and their relationship had to have the desired effect on September. It also turns out Olivia was the chosen one in both seasons 3 and 5. Season 4 also, but a little bit more passively.
Yeah.
They couldn't save the world without her. I think the child observer Michael set all of this up with his super observer abilities by establishing the emotional connection with September, and then knowing September would set these events in motion.
I love it.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
That's it.
I think that was really good. I don't have any additional commentary. But
no, and I don't think there's any way to prove that Michael set all of this in motion, including, September and all of that stuff. But now with Michael being in the future, again, thinking of what has happened will always happen, It's very possible.
Yeah.
It's very, very possible.
Yeah.
Well said, Omar. Okay. Last feedback, and this one comes in from Spock to Bell, which is Rob in Orlando. And Rob says, Clint and Daryl, over 5 years ago, I was participating in a group Skype or on another podcast where the host asked each of us about, where the host asked each of us what show we were looking forward to seeing. I chimed in about the new Fox show trailer for that said something like, what would happen if there were people who could use science and technology in a way that is out of control of law enforcement? Well, I was in for that, and we had a quick discussion about this show called Fringe. I could not have imagined what I would have experienced as a fan and what a lasting effect it would have on me and the future of sci-fi TV. Fast forward in our memory wormhole to the present and the finale of this great series that, like you, I agree will continue to find new fans in the future reruns, much the way Star Trek did for some 40-plus years now. I've mentioned in feedback before and will repeat here the great quote from Leonard Nimoy that what made Trek such good science fiction was the human story. It seems the producers of this show were greatly influenced by the groundwork in those Trek teleplays concerning time travel and alternate universes, like in the episode City on the Edge of Forever, where you were not left just with the wonder of the sci-fi, but with the deep feelings for the interplay of characters and their reaction to the costs to reset a timeline to save humanity. I am thoroughly satisfied with the choices that were made in writing of this finale to tie up most of the most important unanswered questions for me, as well as a completion of the relationships of the main characters. At the fade of the last scene, and when the bad robot came on the screen, I found myself applauding my TV screen in a way I have not in many years. So the Fringe television show is now in the history books, and we the fans will be the force to create more in some form in the future. As for this podcast, Clint and Daryl, how can this humbled fan thank you for 5 seasons of enjoyable drives to and from work while your podcast is playing in my ear? Clint, I will miss your mix of scientific knowledge, insight, and comic playfulness. You kept me interested and made me laugh out loud with your singing. Daryl, as the driving force and founder of the podcast, your interest in the show and the way you presented it in a fun and informative way is something I know you will be proud of in your life for years to come. Please give my fond regards to your families and the original podcast team, and tell them I will never forget the show while you all bravely continued to podcast through a rather violent thunderstorm.
I remember that.
That's when Patty was in town, too. My fondest regards to all in the chats for welcoming this old man to this new way of being together with fellow fans. I will miss those weekend afternoons with y'all. So to loosely quote from the finale, I will not say goodbye, but I will say we, your fans, but I will say we, your fans, to love your podcast. It was one of our favorite things. I will sign off now, but will continue to follow future products of Golden Spiral Media, and that I promise I will always remember to stay Fringe-tastic and keep it nerdy. Live long and prosper, Rob in Orlando. What a great feedback.
That was great, and I think it was a great ultimate feedback, kind of tying up all 5 seasons of our podcast.
And that's why I put it last. It had a nice way of kind of pulling out a little bit and looking at Fringe as a whole. Good perspective from our friend Rob there.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Daryl, I really appreciate you and all the hard work you've put into this podcast. You've made this show more enjoyable for me.
Likewise. I mean that. It's been fun.
Fist bump.
You know what else is fun, Clint? Hearing all
singing.
Hearing all of the fun and creative things that our fans and listeners of the podcast, fans of Fringe, have done for us over the years. We did the thing in the last podcast with Brandon and his origami.
Yeah.
We also played a thing from Mary, but I
remember that.
I teased that there would be another one.
Yeah.
Here it is.
I'm ready.
Ooh. Welcome back to the Fringe Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the green sleeves. Alas, my love, you do me wrong to cast me off discourteously.
Whoa. Whoa.
For I have loved you well and long, delighting in your company.
Nice.
You like that?
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
That's pretty good.
Whoa. Yeah.
Green sleeves was all my joy. Green sleeves was my delight. Green sleeves was my heart of gold. And who but my lady? But my lady.
A little awkward. Wow.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sad, Daryl. I'm sad, Daryl.
Are you? I was going to ask how you are.
I'm sad and happy.
Yeah, sappy. Well, you were late.
Way late.
Public restroom phobias. I'm the same way.
I don't like going number 2 in a public restroom.
No way.
If I can make it, I'll go home.
It's got to be like the explosive kind before I will.
That is awesome.
Oh my goodness.
Oh goodness.
I've heard that probably 5 times now.
That's a totally different green sleeves.
Oh my goodness. That is great. Mary. Awesomeness.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Well, on that note.
That's a good ending, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That's a good ending.
On that note, hey, we appreciate it. We appreciate all the wonderful feedback that you guys have sent in. Appreciate the community. Really love the show. There may not be a next time.
There may not.
But you should still.
Still?
What's your sign off, Daryl?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't quite there yet. I was going to say,
okay,
stay subscribed to the podcast, because if we get some interviews and stuff, we still want to talk to, like I mentioned, I want to talk to Joel about that line, and all that stuff. I don't know if those are ever going to happen, but stay subscribed. If they do, that way you'll get them. That's
true.
Yep.
And follow us on Twitter at GSM Podcast to find out what we're going to be doing in the future with respect to Golden Spiral Media. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that there is going to be more Fringe-related podcasts in the distant future.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. That is it. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Fringe Podcast. And until next time, stay Fringe-tastic!
And keep it nerdy.
The Fringe Podcast and Golden Spiral Media are not associated with Bad Robot Productions, Warner Brothers, or Fox. Golden Spiral Media's use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, or educational purposes as provided within United States Code Title 17, aka Fair Use. For advertising opportunities, our live show, and other Golden Spiral Media podcast productions, visit goldenspiralmedia.com. Copyright 2013, Golden Spiral Media.